This conference will now be recorded.
For your inputs. So let me introduce myself. Myself Dhanush, and I have 15 years of work experience. I started my career as an Oracle consultant, and I have almost like 6 years in Oracle, and then I've got cross-trained within my organization, and then I started working on Workday. So I have like 9 years, approximate 9 years of experience in Workday. And then as a trainer, I have almost like 7 years of experience in Workday. I also used to train on Oracle, and then when I've shifted my career to Workday, then I became a Workday trainer. Okay, yeah, so this is all about myself, and I'm a certified consultant. Certified means like I do implementation work, I do support work, I do like extensions work in Workday. I'm an certified consultant in core HCM, payroll, absence, recruitment, reporting. So all this is what my certification lies. And without certification, I also worked on learning, benefits and new technologies like Extend and all. Okay, so this is all about myself. So let me share my screen to just go through the content. Can any one of you confirm if you are able to see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Thanks, Catherine. So hope Monica, you're also able to see my screen.
Yeah, I'm able to see your screen.
Okay, all right. So before we go ahead with this content, so I just wanted to tell you like what is Workday, or the model that we are going to train with Workday students. Okay. So first of all, this training comprises of coming back from a basics. Like I have trained many students who don't know at least basics of Workday. They don't know what is Workday. Okay, but students come to me, or students reach out to Naveen, and then they ask like, see, like I'm from US, and then I get to see that's a very good pay rate for Workday, and then I wanted to start learning Workday from tomorrow, and then I want to do it within 15 days, and on the third week I have to start working. Okay, so in these very specific trenches also we have trained people on Workday. So our training will be something like where we will start from the basics. We will try to understand you or make you analyze like what is Workday. It's not like training on Workday technology. It is like from the scratch, like what questions will be asked by your client. So where you have to be strong in which area, what are the questions that you need to ask to the client, because learning a product is not that difficult, but when you face a client, that is where you face the challenges. So we will train you on kind of a real-time scenarios where you have to start, what work you have to do, all this kind of stuff. Okay, and coming back to Workday, so I think both of you have a basic knowledge, but let me tell you, Workday is a cloud technology, and Workday is one of the first cloud technology. A cloud technology, when I say cloud technology, it is an ERP cloud, where it is one of the first cloud ERP cloud which got released into the market. And after that, we have like Oracle cloud product, Oracle Fusion, and then SAP SuccessFactors. All these came into the picture. Okay, and as we know, like when we say ERP cloud, so that means like can anybody tell me what is an ERP? Like, the definition as well as why we call it as an ERP, or why we use this ERP. Okay, so let me tell you, ERP is nothing but enterprise resource planning. So when I say enterprise resource planning, it itself means that we are going to use either Workday or Oracle Fusion or Salesforce or SAP SuccessFactors in order to manage people in an organization, in an enterprise. Okay, so that means here we are trying to manage people, trying to manage employees in an organization. So that's an ERP. So whenever we try to manage people in any organization, there are so many factors that get involved, right? Like employee management, employee absences, employee payroll, okay, employee benefits, then employee learning, then employee performance, all this. So all these, when you have in one particular system, that we call it as an ERP. And then here we call it as an HCM ERP, human capital management. And then we also have finance, we also have supply chain management, we also have manufacturing. So we have multiple products in the market, but Workday is specialized for HCM. And let me tell you, currently Workday is number one service provider for HCM product throughout the world. It has like thousands of customers. Okay. Now coming back to Workday, when we said HCM, so whatever the modules, so HCM is a product, and under HCM we have core HCM, we have recruitment, we have payroll, we have absence management, we have talent management, we have learning, so we have Workday reporting, we have Workday extend. Okay, so we have multiple kind of branches, and these are all called as modules, except reporting and extend. These are all modules, what we call as. And we also have integration, where you can integrate Workday system with any other kind of a product. Okay, the most important or the most critical module in Workday is core HCM. Okay, so core HCM is considered not only in Workday. You go to any product, you try to learn any HCM product in the market, anybody will say that core HCM is the main important kind of a module. Why? Because it's kind of a base module, it's kind of a pillar. So whenever we construct a building, our pillar should be strong. The same way, whenever you are implementing Workday for any organization which comprises of multiple modules, then the first and the foremost module to be implemented is always core HCM. Okay, because we try to create the base structure in core HCM. That's the reason core HCM. After you implement core HCM, then you go with any module. Like you can go with payroll, you can go with recruitment, you can go with absence, you can go with learning, benefits, recruitment, anything. But core HCM is considered as an important module in Workday. And trust me, when I went to this Workday certification, like maybe almost like 9.5 years back, the first module that I got certified is also core HCM. Because once you are certified in core HCM, then you will enter into Workday, and then you start implementing Workday, and slowly you will get certified, or you will try to implement the other modules only after knowing this particular product. Okay, so in this content, so we have placed this core HCM, and this is kind of a base module that we train for any student, anybody who has to learn. So some students come and tell that, see Dhanush, I've got an offer on Workday recruitment. Now I have to start learning Workday recruitment. But what we do is, though they don't know, but we say is like, first you try to learn core HCM, and then you try to learn recruitment. So that would be beneficial, because the main structure is what we try to implement in core HCM, and then we will go to recruitment. Any module, dependent module is core HCM. Okay. Any questions till now, or you have any queries or questions?
None so far.
No, no.
Okay. Okay, great. And then at the end, I'll talk about certification, and without certification, is it required that you need to have a certification to work in Workday? So there are certain common questions that we get from the students. If maybe you ask or you don't ask, but we will try to discuss all these at the end. Okay. All right. Now let me go to the core functional part. So before I start with this core functional part, so I will take like 2 to 3 days time to make you understand the tenant structure, like the instance that we use to implement Workday or to learn Workday. Okay, so the base functions. So whenever you log in into any Workday system, so what do you have on the home page? So what you need to click in order to do any activity, how to search certain things in Workday, or how to, what is an worklet, what is an application, how an employee gets inbox messages, how an employee receives notifications. So those basic things is what we will try to understand in the initial days, and after that we will go with the core HCM functional module. Okay, because understanding the basics is very, very important to understand the main structure. So that's where we have added like core concepts and navigational basics. Okay, now coming back to the organization structure. Organization structure is nothing but departments. Okay, so let's say like Monica got recruited in an organization, in a company. Okay, let's say in Google. Now she will be recruited in a particular department, right? It's not like Monica got recruited in Google, but in which department in Google? Maybe she's in software development department, or she's in maintenance department, or there would be different departments, right? So that department is nothing but organization. So that term organization is called as supervisory organization, or we have multiple organizations like companies, cost centers, regions, region hierarchies, cost center hierarchies. So custom organizations, matrix organizations. So there are different, almost like 9 to 10 types of organizations in Workday. And then we need to understand each and every type. Like, it's not like we talk about like 3 to 4 organizations, I'll show you creating those organizations and go to the next topic. No, because these are all are very, very important. Maybe tomorrow, once you learn all these organizations, your client might ask you, okay, Catherine, just tell me what is the difference between a custom organization and a supervisory organization. Okay, so Catherine should be in a position to make her understand what is the difference, in which scenario we create supervisory organizations, in which scenarios we create custom organizations. Okay, these terms are very important. Okay, though I haven't mentioned those organization types here, but we are going to learn about all the organizations, and practically I'm going to show you how to create all these organizations and how these organizations are linked to employees. Okay, and out of all these organizations which I've mentioned before, supervisory type of organization is a very, very important type of an organization, because we basically hire employees into a supervisory organization, and we try to tag employees to any other type of an organizations like companies, cost centers, custom organizations, matrix organizations, or anything. Okay, so supervisory organization is what we will generally go and hire employees. Okay, and then we also have child organization. So let's say now Monica got recruited, or let's say Catherine got recruited into a software development department. Now for that particular department, there can be another child organizations, there can be another division to that department. So now that is nothing but your subordinate organization, which is kind of a child organizations. So that's how we try to create an hierarchy, right? So parent child organizations, then who report to whom. Now let's say if Catherine got recruited into a parent organization and Monica is got recruited into a child organization. Now Monica is obviously going to report to Catherine. Okay, so there is an employee manager kind of an hierarchy, and then there is an supervisory organization, subordinate organization hierarchy. So we will try to understand these structure, because tomorrow if you don't understand this concepts correctly and then you start working for any of the client, and then you wrongly recruited a person in a different department, or you wrongly have given some kind of an properties to a different person of different department, then the whole configuration will be a big mess up. Okay, so I have seen scenarios where uh, consultants have done these mistakes regularly for a particular client, and then the client, instead of rectifying that mistakes and then trying to do those rectification, they have re-implemented the project altogether. So here they lost millions of dollars because of the consultant's mistake. So that's where we have to be very careful. So these are ERPs. Clients invest millions of dollars into these kind of a project. So we have to be very careful, and our efficiency will be tested in every step. Okay. So that's where we will try to understand how to create these, how to assign employees into these organizations, and then what are the basic differences between different types of organizations. Now, additional organization types and hierarchies. So again, we have additional types is something like which we have discussed. Organization assignments on supervisory organization. So let's say I hire an employee in a supervisory organization, then employee should be automatically assigned with a cost center, with a company, with a region, with a location hierarchy, with a custom organization. So employee should be automatically assigned. Now, the recruiter should not go and assign all these kind of an organizations to an employee manually. Okay, now if in a day, if 10 employees are being hired, if a recruiter is doing this manual activity 10 times, then it's almost like huge work. Now let's say if at all you're going to a manufacturing industry, okay, where every day there are some hundreds of employees working. Now every day if there are multiple recruiters doing the same job, now it's not called as an effective ERP, it's called as a data entry job. Okay, so we are not a data entry job consultants, we are ERP consultants. So we have to think very correctly in order to configure what. So now there is something kind of in functionality that Workday have given, saying that when you hire an employee in a supervisory organization, the other type of an organization should be automatically tagged to that employee. So that is where we will try to understand the organization assignments. And this is a common interview question that I generally ask in my company when I take any interviews, because that's where we will try to find the efficiency of the consultants, whether he have gone through that scenario or he's doing some manual job in his organization in his current level. Okay, so that's where we will try to briefly understand, and at least we will try to take 2 to 3 days to understand the structure, configurations and everything, because this is very important. Okay, now comes the staffing models. So staffing model is nothing but in Workday. Currently, we have two types of staffing models. One is job management, the other one is position management. But when I learned Workday for the first time, then we used to have three. The third one is headcount management, but that has been removed almost in the year 2016, I guess, headcount management. After that, until now, there are only two types of staffing models. Okay. So can someone tell me what is the difference between a job and a position? Why we have these two terms? Okay, so why we have two terms like jobs and positions, and what is the difference between them? Monica or Catherine?
Job is something like mm, a designation, or the
Mhm.
positions is the designations, and then the
Okay,
job, um, I have no idea.
no worries, no worries. I'm the trainer here, and then my responsibility is to
Mhm.
teach you. But before that, I also try to check the
From the
knowledge, because
responsibility something.
yes, that's right. So I also try to check, because it's not like me speaking from one way. I also want students' interaction in the classes so that it would be an interesting session for me as well. Right? No worries. I'll give the explanation on that. So Monica, do you want
Okay.
to give a try here?
Yeah, as Catherine mentioned it. So a position is something, the designation that I feel. A job is like um,
The job role.
everybody is looking for. I mean, the job is a common thing that everyone wants to get in, but the position is the designation. It's the different designations, different levels or of the
Okay.
organization structure.
Okay. Yeah, you're almost close. Yeah. So now let me tell you my explanation. And this question I've been asking students since almost 13, 12, 13 years, because this is the same concept in Oracle or Workday, or you go to SAP anywhere. This is the same topic. This is the same concept. The only thing is your ERP differs. So jobs and positions are something like, it all depends on the industry that you're working. Okay. Now we have different industries, like we have IT industry, we have hospitality industry, so we have manufacturing industry, we have pharma industry, right? So we have different industries. So this job management and position management differs based on the industry, right? For example, you go to a manufacturing industry, like you go to a shopping mall, or you go to a shopping place, like you can go to Walmart. So you see number of employees working in Walmart, right? So now if you go and ask each and every person, say like, what is your designation? So they say like salesman or salesperson. Okay, they don't have, they rarely have supervisors in Walmart, but most of the people are salespeople. Okay, so that means if there are like 3,000 workers working in Walmart in a particular location, out of 3,000 workers, there are almost like 2,000 sales persons, and then 1,000 supervisors or 500 supervisors. The rest of are all normal salesperson, right? So that is where you call it as job management. Job management is very generic. Okay, it's not specific, it's very generic. So salesperson, you want to have multiple people under one particular role, then that's always your job management. And this is where you have to check with your client, what kind of a client is it, in which industry the client is in, so what you're going to implement. Based on that, you will try to get the answer by yourself. Okay, now as I said, job management is very generic. Now coming back to the position management. So what is position management? Position management is very specific. Okay, so position management is Monica, can you go on mute, please? There's some kind of background noise. Thank you. So position management is something like your specific positions. Okay, now you go to any IT industry, you go to Microsoft, and then you ask the designation of an employee. He will say a Java senior developer, someone will say Java junior developer, someone will say Workday consultant, someone will say Oracle consultant. So their designations are very specific to their role. It's not like generic software engineer, not like common. Like software engineer is common, but everybody will have their own department-wise designations. Something like Workday consultant, Salesforce consultant, Salesforce senior consultant. So very specific in position. So these position management are rarely used in, commonly used in IT industry, pharma industry, all these things. And these job management are used in manufacturing industry, hospitality industry, all these kind of an industries. And it depends. And then maybe you can ask me a question saying that, so Dhanush, like, should we use only job management for a particular client or only position management? No, it can be a combination as well. Okay, so for one of the clients that I have implemented, the client said like the top level management, the cream layer of the management, their roles are very specific, and the below level management, their roles are very generic. So to a particular level, we have implemented everything as position management. After that, we have implemented everything as job management. So how to implement that? Whenever you create any supervisory organization, you have to assign a staffing model to that particular supervisory organization, whether it's a job management or position management staffing model. Okay, so that's where we are going to discuss. And now let's say today I have created position management, like I have created a supervisory organization and I've added position management to that supervisory organization. Okay, and let's say I've hired 10 people into that. Tomorrow my client comes and says that no, these positions are not very specific, so just remove it and make it as job management. So that's not that easy. So there are certain steps or there are certain restrictions that we have to understand in order to change a particular staffing model from position management to a job management. Okay, so there are certain reasons for it. So that we will try to understand when we will be training. So that's how we will try to understand what are the hiring. Whenever you hire any employee in a job management, what are the restrictions? When you hire an employee in a position management, what are the restrictions? So those things we will try to understand. And then selecting a staffing model is also a very, very big decision whenever you're creating your supervisory organizations. You have to check with your client. You have to ask questions to your client, multiple questions, so that they understand and then they get like what type of staffing model they have to use. Okay. And then we come to the job profiles. So job profile is considered as a very, very important concept in Workday, or you go anywhere, you go to Oracle, you go to SAP or Workday, anywhere, job profile is very, very important, because there are certain factors that we have at the job profile, like is there any job code, is there any grade that are linked to a job, is there any compensation that's linked to a job, is there any job description that we can add it, is there any roles and responsibilities. So whenever you open Indeed or any other sites, you'll get to see the job code, then job description, roles and responsibilities, everything, right? So all those, that kind of a details generally come from job profiles. So configuring job profiles is very, very important, and we have to be very careful while configuring as well, because when you create a job profile, you add the job profile either to a position or to a job. So for any position or job profile is common. So we have to be very careful when we try to add these job profiles. Okay. So we will try to understand job profiles, and then with job profiles, we have job families, we have job family groups. What are the differences? Why we use these job families is what we will also use. And then we will try to understand how to create these positions and what are the factors that we can use in terms of headcount management. If at all we need to give one position to one person, or like 10 jobs to one particular role, or all those things is what we will try to understand as an combination, right? Next, we will try to understand the compensation. So again, in Workday, we have two modules, core compensation and we have advanced compensation. Okay, two modules. So that core compensation is what we are going to cover in this core HCM module. So that core compensation module is part of your core HCM. Now, if you want to also learn advanced compensation, then again, you have to take a separate course for it. Okay, because only after learning core compensation, you will understand advanced compensation. So in core compensation, we will understand the grade structure or grade profile structure or compensation structure. Okay, like what kind of a compensation. There can be salary ranges. For example, if you apply for any job, then maybe you can get to see a range. Certain companies display the range, or certain companies doesn't display the range. Let's say we are applying for an Workday consultant role, maybe in Google also uses Workday. So if at all we are applying for it, now the recruiter knows what is the range of salary that can be assigned onto that particular person. So they will have a range of salary. Let's say like $8,000 per month to, let's say, $12,000 per month. So within that range, they can assign any amount, but minimum is your 8,000 and maximum is 12,000. They cannot, that's the threshold. They cannot go out of that particular threshold, right? So that's where we will try to understand the salary ranges within your grade and grade profiles. Then we will also have security. Like everybody cannot see the compensation structure of any employee. Okay, there has to be certain restriction, because compensation or salary is very, very important component for any employee. So we cannot give access to anybody to that structure. Only the compensation partners or compensation administrators or payroll administrators can see that compensation level of security. So that we will try to understand. And then compensation rules. So we have kind of an eligibility rules. Okay, so let's say if the employee salary is more than $8,000 per month, then only try to assign certain grade, or try to assign certain kind of an activities to that person. Or if at all the person is in a director position, then only assign a particular grade structure. If not, don't assign it to any other roles in the organization. So we can write different eligibility rules on your compensation rule structures. Okay, next comes your security group. So this is again a separate module in Workday, but we brought that module within your core HCM structure, where here we are trying to understand the basic of security as well as the important concepts of security. Security is also a very vast topic in Workday, but we will not try to understand each and every component of security, but we will understand what is required in a security right from basics. Okay, so we will understand what are the security group types, then how to configure a security, because there are two important topics in security. Okay, one is business process security policies and one is domain security policies. So business process security policies is something like, it always deals with who is going to approve, who is going to reject, who is going to forward to the next step, who is going to do this activity. So that who component is always related to your business process security policy, and domain always deals with what kind of a data, like what kind of a data, like whether a person can see a compensation data, or whether a person can see a payroll data or absence data. So that what kind of a structure is managed by your domain security policies. So those things we will try to understand, and then we will try to configure few security groups which are very, very regularly used things in the implementation or support projects. Now coming back to the business process, again, this topic is also very important, because if you understand business processes in core HCM, you can configure this business process in any other module, irrespective of any module. The same way your security groups also. If you understand how to define a security group or how to use a security group in core HCM, it is the same in any other modules. Okay. So what is a business process? Business process is nothing but it's a flow, it's a workflow. So hire is again a business process. Now, if we want to hire an employee in any organization, we have a certain process, right? First, we need to do a background verification. Then we have to go and do that, all that background checks or recruitment activities happening in recruitment module. But once that person is ready to hire, then we will try to run this business process called hire, and then we will try to hire an employee. There will be certain approvals, who to approve, or what kind of a documents the employee has to submit, or what kind of a process the employee has to go through. All this will be part of your hire business process. So in the same way, there are hundreds of business processes given by Workday. Only thing is, you as a consultant has to add the steps within that business process. Then you will understand like how that business process can be done. And then you can also add condition rules on the business process, saying that only if this condition is satisfied, trigger this step in the business process. If not, don't trigger. Kind of a rules is what you can also add to that. So we will try to understand the whole process of BPs. And next, transactions in Workday. So we will try to understand how to create a pre-hire. Pre-hire is nothing but an applicant. Okay, applicant is the process before hiring. So how to create a pre-hire, how to hire an employee, how to promote an employee, how to demote an employee, and how to terminate an employee. Okay, these transactions are very, very, very important. So all these activities is what we are going to understand in this transactions in Workday concept. Okay. Yeah, so this is the module that we are going to see. So now let me pause myself and see if you guys have any questions on the topics we have just discussed.
So Dhanush,
Mhm,
we have discussed like when there are like we have to hire like
mhm,
people, and it's
yeah,
not going to be a data entry job. Like we
mhm,
don't manually.
mhm.
Really like automation thing that we can do that that kind of basis because we are ERP.
Mhm.
That's what you had. So if you don't do it manually, is it automated or something?
So automation is something like, you mean on a particular business process, or you mean the whole of the process?
No, you had mentioned if a person, if I am going to
Mhm.
hire 10 people today, so
Yeah,
I do it manually. It is
mhm.
a, a
Right.
very long process. So because we are ERP side, so is there any automated process or how do we do best?
Yes. Yes. So when you say manual process, if you don't know how to configure things, like critical things, or you know how to configure intelligently, then you have to do the manual activity. Like you have to run every step. So, but there are certain automated process that is given by Workday itself. If you know those features, you can configure that for your clients and make your clients work easy. For example, let's say you have added a particular step in a business process, okay, and then that step is triggering for all applicants as well as all the contingent workers like contractors and employees. So every time you hire an employee, that step is coming, and then every time you hire a contingent worker, the step is coming. But your client is just trying to skip that step. They don't want to do they don't want to work on that particular step. They just want to skip it. So it is coming every time and then they are skipping it. So that is a manual work. Okay. But if the same client tells you that, see Dhanush, like this step is what is there, someone have configured for us, but we are not using that step. We don't want to use that step, but we wanted to use that in future, not now. We want to skip that step. We don't want that step to be arrived. In that case, you can skip that particular step. You can make sure that whenever they are running that process, that step can be skipped. But if you know how to skip that step, then only you can do that configuration. So that is where you need to understand the steps, or you need to understand the beauty of Workday under a proper training, and then only you can go and implement that for a client. I have seen so many clients that they come reach out to us, and then they say that, okay, this is this functionality we are not using, but someone have configured, we don't want to use it, or we want to load certain data very logically, but it's not happening at all. So we give solutions to them because we are consultants, we are business consultants. So that's how, if at all you are an effective Workday consultant, you tend to give solutions, and your client will always hire you irrespective of any platform you are, if at all you are giving the right solutions to your client. Because anybody can be there now. Lord, there are thousands of people who are Workday consultants. Why the client has to hire you? There has to be some kind of a specialty in you. There has to be, the client has to see some kind of an advantage while they interview you, then only they will hire you, right? So that is where you have to understand what are automatic process that will be there, how can we automate the process instead of manual process, all that things. So there are so many features which I'm going to train, and then you're going to learn, and then you will just try to display the same thing within your client.
Thank you, Dhanush.
So did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, you did
Oh,
answer.
okay. So Catherine, any questions from your side?
Nothing at the moment from my side because I am still catching up with this Workday, because right now we will have a project which will integrate from Workday to SAP. So
Okay.
I maybe later.
Okay. No worries.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right. So this is the functional part that we are going to see. After this, we have something like reporting. Okay. So reporting is again a very, very important concept within any ERP you take, because whatever the configurations that you do within any system, your client is not going to see that. But at the end of the day, your client is going to run a report, and then they are going to see the results in the report. Okay. For example, now your client have asked Monica to create 50 supervisory organizations and to hire like 3,000 employees into those organizations. Now Monica is going to do all the hard work, sitting for 1 month, loading all the employee data, and then hiring those employees into a particular organization. So she will do all that hard work. But after 1 month, what your client is going to do is they'll not see that 1 month hard work. They'll just run a report at the end of the month saying that new employees data report, and then they will run the report and see whether the report is having the right results within the report results. So if they are seeing the right employee in the right supervisory organization with the right compensation, with the right job profile, then they are satisfied with Monica's work. If they see the wrong results, though Monica has worked for 1 month or 1 year, all the hard work goes into vain. So that's kind of an importance that the reporting will have. And as you have already worked in the organizations and you're working in the organizations, you know that higher management like directors, senior directors, vice presidents, they always depend on reports. So how effective we develop the reports, that effective they try to go and see the results in the reporting part. So for that reason, reporting is considered as a very, very important. And reporting, like, it's not particular module. Like, if you understand the concepts of reporting, this applies to any kind of a product. Like, it can be HCM product, it can be Workday financials, anything. So if you know, or any module within Workday, it is the same process. Okay. So in Workday, we will try to understand the overview of the reporting, and then we will try to understand there are different types of reports. Like, we have simple report, advanced report, matrix report, inbox report, filter report, transpose report, different types of a report, but we will not try to learn all the reports, because for every type there is kind of a requirement. For example, transpose report. If you want to interchange the rows and columns of the report and see the results, so that is only possible to transpose type of a report. But that's not a regular requirement that you will always see. That is very rare requirement that your client is going to ask. So the common requirements is your advanced report. Like 80% of your client reporting is always on advanced type of a report. Simple reporting is like when you try to check the results by your side. So simple reports is not what your client is going to see, but what you're going to see is simple reporting. And then matrix reporting, the numbers part. Let's say your director wants to see the number of employees working in New York location. So he will only choose the parameter called New York, and then once he runs the report, then he has to see the number of employees, total employees. Now within those total employees, let's say 400 employees are working in New York location. Now within that 400 employees, he want to see department wise employees, okay, or cost center wise employees or company wise employees. Then again, that can be distributed within those number. So that's where your matrix reports will be coming into the picture, and then we will also try to learn how to create your matrix report. Okay. So advanced field calculation, like how to calculate a report, like if there are any number calculations or how to add columns into the report, is what we'll try to understand. And then business objects is what we have as a concept, like primary, secondary business objects. So business objects is nothing but kind of an objects which hold your fields. Okay, so those are like a fields. So where you choose the right business object, you have the fields within that object. So we'll try to understand what are the business objects. Okay. And let me tell you, Workday will give you the standard fields. Okay, within Workday we have standard fields, we have custom fields. Standard fields is what Workday have provided. Custom fields is what you have to create. Okay, there will be certain requirement by your client, where depending on the requirement, you might not find a field that is given by Workday. In that scenarios, you have to create a field. Okay, for example, now the standard date format of Workday is US format, like month, day, and year. Okay, so that's the standard because Workday is a US company, so the standard date format is month, date, and year. Now let's say I'm implementing the same thing in, let's say, in Europe, in Germany. I'm implementing for a client. Now the client doesn't want to follow the US date format because the client is always in Germany. He's in Europe. He want to follow the Europe format. So in that case, what we do is we change the format like day, month, and year. In that case, you have to create an custom field, which is called as your calculated field. So in that calculated field, there are certain like date formats or number format or expressions, logics. There are different types of calculated fields. So we will try to understand these calculated fields, and then we'll try to explain this in the training sessions. Calculated fields are very, very important. Okay. So the next concept is EIB, Enterprise Interface Builder. Now, what is this EIB means? Now, let's say Catherine just said like she's into SAP, and then maybe their client can move from SAP to Workday. Now, let's say in SAP, they have like 15,000 employees already. Now they're moving into Workday. Now, Catherine, if they assign that work to Catherine saying that, okay, you hire all 15,000 employees into Workday, it would be a very difficult task because again, she don't want to hire employees into Workday. Instead, she can load employees. She can push employees, 15,000 employees from SAP into Workday. So that is where you have inbuilt inbound interfaces. Okay, so inbound interface is something like if you want to load the data into Workday, that's called inbound interface. If you want to extract the data from Workday, that's called outbound interface. So that's where we have two interfaces in EIB. So we will try to understand the inbound EIBs, where how to load employees into Workday. It's not only employees, it can be anything. It can be positions, loading positions. Now you have created one supervisory organization. Now your manager said like, okay, I want to hire 80 employees in one particular supervisory organization. Okay, in order to hire 80 employees, you need to have 80 positions created. Now, if you start creating individual positions, that 80 positions will take almost like 2 days to create 1, 2, 3 positions and all. But 2 days means, let's say 16 hours, taking 8 hours per day. Okay, but if you use this EIB, inbound EIB interface, then within half an hour, like within 30 minutes or 1 hour, you can create like 80 positions under that supervisory organization. Now here you're saving 15 hours. So this is the difference between a manual work and an automated work. So if you use this functionality properly, then you can save your time. That's where we will try to understand how to load the data into Workday. And loading the data can be anything: employee data, position data, job profile data, compensation data, talent data, performance data, any data. So that can be done through your inbound EIB. Okay, there is also an outbound EIB. Like let's say we have employees in a particular company. Now that company have tie up with a benefit provider, and then they want to provide some benefits to employees, to their employees. Now, if they want to provide certain benefits, now they have to send this employee information to those benefit vendors, right? That means some data has to be pushed from Workday, and then it has to be pulled by the benefit provider. Now they are sending data outside Workday. So that is something like your outbound EIP. Okay, so which again we are not going to learn that because that's very very simple thing, and then that's part of integrations. So which is kind of, we create a report and then we attach that report to that interface and we run the integration so that all those employee details or any data fetches to the third party, which is like benefits provider. Okay, so now the last one is ILoads. ILoads is something like it is similar to EIB, but ILoad have a certain restriction that everybody cannot load data through ILoads. Only the certified consultants in Workday, or only the people who have certification active, they can only work on ILoads, but none other can work on ILoads. Okay, So I'm just going to give you an overview, but not like real time, because you will anyways, you cannot work on ILoads until unless you are certified in Workday. Okay, right. So this is the last topic. Any questions before we move on to general questions that are asked by the students? Any questions?
Okay, I have a questions regarding for the e-leave or for the time in
Mhm.
attendance. So will this be covered in this module?
No, time and attendance is a different. Like we have time tracking as a separate module, absences we have as a separate module. We are not covering
Mm-hmm.
that in this content. Yeah.
Oh, all right, okay.
Okay. So yes, Monica, any questions?
Yeah. As we discussed in the reports,
Mhm.
um, so before the client run the reports and before they see our results, so
Mhm.
can we run the report before the client runs the report, and can we uh,
Definitely,
whether we have done it correctly or not? If if
definitely.
if we
Yeah.
see
So we have to check from our side.
Oh, so if we see any differences or if we see any um, uh, fail things, we can go back and correct it. Right?
Exactly, that's right. So see, anything, whatever you do, not only reporting, even configuration also, you will try to configure things, you will have to test it properly. So
Yeah.
maybe in certain companies, they will allow you to test it, or there will be separate testing teams where separate teams will test it on that part. The same way, like when you create a report, you have to run the report on your own and check whether you are able to see the right results in that report. If you are not seeing the right results, then again, that's actually a flaw, that's a mistake. So you have to rectify that mistake, and then you have to again run the report until unless you see the proper results. You cannot give it to the client saying that okay, the report work is finished, because the client is also going to run the report from the client side. That's an user testing, right? So for
So,
your question, yes, definitely you can validate the report. You can rerun the report to see like all the results are coming correctly.
okay.
Okay. All right. Now coming back to the common questions that people ask. So what is the difference between a certified consultant and a non-certified consultant? So in Workday, there is a structure actually. So basically, if you join any companies like Deloitte, Accenture, KPMG, Elite, okay, and Invisors, there are certain US companies as well. If you join these companies, uh, so the company is going to provide you the certification. Okay, so that means they will just train you like just like the topics that we have seen in the content. There will be certain topics, similar topics that they will cover, and then they will send you for an exam. Okay, and you have to give it an exam, and then if you are passed in that exam, you will get a certificate. And once you are a certified Workday consultant, then you will be eligible to work on implementation projects as well as support projects. And I hope you understand what is an implementation and what is a support project. Okay. So implementation is something like when you start working on a project from scratch. That's an implementation. Like just now, Catherine said, like they might be moving from SAP to Workday, right? That's an implementation project because they are moving the whole structure into a different product completely. So that's an implementation. Now, what is support means? If the project is already implemented, now you are supporting certain issues because in any project the client will face issues. Now the client has to uh, the client has to put certain teams where the issues can be resolved there. So that is your support team. Okay, so now coming back to our certification, if you are certified consultant, you are eligible to work on both implementation and support projects. And if you are non-certified, okay, you are eligible to work on support projects, but you cannot implement any implementation projects. That means already the workday has been implemented for the client, and then you are free to go and support that client. But if the client wants to implement workday, then they will definitely will not hire you until unless you are a certified consultant. So that's a common question asked within any batch, and that's a clarification for it. Okay, and now after taking this particular course, you can directly go and start working for a client, and then you can put around like 1 year 2 years experience you have, and then you can start working for a client, because this training will be an in-depth training with real-time scenarios, and then we will also give you the instance to practice. And if you have any questions during your practice, you can also ask, so that we can support you. We can also tell you where you went wrong or how to rectify the mistake, all that stuff. So this will be completely based on real-time training.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions?
No questions.
Catherine?
Nothing from me at the moment.
All right. Okay. So then if you guys doesn't have any questions, then we can wrap it off, and then do like your feedback, give the feedback to Naveen, and then we can take it forward from there.
So okay, okay, this is my question. So how we will go um through with this, like how we will enroll or move forward with this training?
Uh,
Just in
yeah. So you can confirm that you want to take the training to Naveen, and then we will form a batch, and then Naveen will discuss with you what are your comfortable timings, and then based on that we will form a batch, because we also have other members joining, and then we regularly give demos on Workday and all. So once a batch is formed, it will be informed to you, and then you can start joining. Coming back to the commercials, you can talk to Naveen. What are the pay structures and all, so that he will let you know all those details.
all right, sure. Okay, thank you.
No worries. Okay. So if we
Mm-hmm.
don't have any questions, then I think we are right on time, and then we'll close for today, and then see you the
Mm-hmm.
latest.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Okay.
Have a
Thank,
great day. See you
thank
soon.
you,
Take care.
Daddy.
Bye bye.
Mhm. Bye.
Bye.